So yeah, things are going really well here.
Don't trust him, honey. He's a professional. All right. Cool, cool. So I have got, we're going to be recording a little bit here, just so we get that going. As I said, this comic books this week with Dr. Stanford Carpenter and myself, Hannibal Tabu. I am recording, and hopefully we're going to get this on YouTube if I can figure out editing and stuff with my schedule. And yeah, we're going to keep it rocking. So, where shall we begin with this week's comic, Stanford?
Ooh, shall we rip the Band-Aid off and start with Heroes Reborn?
I feel that getting it over with as soon as possible is the best choice.
So yeah, Heroes Reborn #7, The World of No Return. Gosh,
Do we have the receipt? Could we possibly return it anyway?
yeah. More time being spent, in a world that you really don't give a darn about, and it kind of messes with with any potential sense of drama.
Right, right.
It would be nice if the Heroes Reborn world was something where you got there and there are reasons to keep it alive, right? So like the heroes coming in and we know they're going to get their world back, like they actually have to make some hard choices. But this isn't a hard choice. It's
Nope.
just punch someone who you hate.
Punch them right in their rotten face. That checks out.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I notice when I read a book, if I don't after I turn the last page, if I sit and think and I don't really remember anything about it, I think that's a bad sign. The thing that I most clearly remember about Heroes Reborn #7 this week was the discussion with President Coulson. And can I say, of all the people that we've come to love in the Marvel Universe, throwing dirt on Phil Coulson and making him a bad guy is just low. It's not cool. And it's difficult to even get behind the thought process that created that. It's Phil frickin' Coulson who inspired frickin' Captain America, and you want to make him the lead bad guy with, spoiler, Mephisto? No, that's not kosher. It's not.
Well,
I can't be on board for it.
but you also combine this with I feel like the writing is just full of like little cheap obvious shots that were supposed to be like, oh, that was clever, or oh, that's funny, and you're like,
But
you
they're not
know
though.
right, like this whole thing, like they keep alluding to the love triangle between Hyperion, Nighthawk, and oh, what's her face,
Power Princess.
and Power Princess, right? And then Power Princess comes in close to Nighthawk and is like, well, if we actually did it, I could accidentally snap you like a twig. I'm like, okay, yay, you said it, but it's just, I feel like that's what we're stuck with here, right? These really sort of obvious juvenile beats,
Yeah. And
and so juvenile that even if a kid were to read it, it would be like, you know. We have reference to the Dark Avengers, except for now it's the Dark Squadron.
that's racist.
And yeah, exactly. I'm just like keep thinking why, like, I really want to get to the end. Why? So I don't have to read this book anymore.
Yeah, I can relate to that. For me, as I see this, when you talked about the juvenile beats, that actually triggered something in my mind that Jeff Thorne says a lot, that the original will always beat the knockoff. And this isn't the real Justice League. This is the bootleg knockoff version of the Justice League.
Right.
And, not even in an original way. They're literally playing very close to those roles. And while they're there, they're doubling down and putting on more derivative stuff. So, Nighthawk is a derivative Batman. Let's put some Spider-Man on him too. Let's make him derivative of that too. That'll be cool. Yeah,
Right.
let's do that. Oh, I know. This Power Princess is a derivative of Wonder Woman. Let's smear some Thor on her, so she'll be kind of a savage. Yeah, classy, bougie, and ratchet. Let's definitely do that. No, let's not. Let's seriously just not.
Yeah.
And all of that derivative copy energy. When you put something through a copying machine too many times, it's going to come out looking bad. And I think that's what we have here.
Yup. I mean, I will say this: the art was okay, and the art was better than okay. But it was wasted.
They spent a
And I feel
gajillion dollars. It has to be okay looking art.
right, But I feel like that's the thing. I feel like this whole Heroes Reborn has been all about like waste. You know what little good what good things there are about it is wasted on this series.
Are you talking about some like the crossover books that were like, oh, I see what you did there, but why did you do it here?
Exactly. Like, why not just do that in the Marvel universe, where you can really play with the ramifications? But
Ramifications are very 20th century. I don't think people
oh
are doing that anymore.
yeah.
What was
So,
the spin-off book this week? I don't even remember.
Weapon X and Final Flight.
Oh, that one was a gut punch when I finally saw the twist that they were doing. I was like, you're wasting this here? Oh my God. It's like, have you ever played Uno? And like, you're playing Uno and you know for a fact that one person has only got like one card left, right? And then you ready to get them. And the person right before you puts down a draw four and messes up your
Yeah.
whole plan.
Yep.
I was like, what are you doing? No, don't. Oh, no. Why would you do this to me and to America?
Well, these were some good ideas. The problem is you really couldn't. The only problem with it is that what happens to Canada could never happen in the regular Marvel universe
True. True. Very true.
because it would require that a group of heroes do something that's so like not. It's not that it's just not heroic, but it's just kind of not within their character, right?
Yeah.
And it's Canada.
Well, I mean,
And I get why they did this to Canada, because they wanted to show that the Squadron Supreme is so bad that they would kick Bambi in the crotch, and that's kind
oh
of
my
what going
God.
after Canada is. It's like, yeah, let's kick Bambi in the crotch, and while he's down, let's kick him in the face, right? That's what they did, but it just doesn't resonate, because it's like, oh yeah, these are the people who are in league. These are the MFs who are in league with Mephisto. So of course that's what's going to happen, right? It just doesn't. I'm like, why?
I'm trying to get that visual out of my mind. Honestly, that really is messing with me. But
Am I wrong though?
you're not. You're out of line, but you're right.
You
and
know.
and yeah, I was. It's interesting to me because we talk about this, and all of this is based up around the Squadron Supreme. Anybody with some comic books history will know what Mark Gruenwald did with the Squadron Supreme. That was different. That was
And it was
changing,
amazing.
and that was ramifications. It was big, and it was sweeping, and it was intentional. Whereas this really just feels like, oh man, looks like the Heroes Reborn trademark's about to wear out. We should throw together a book. Okay, yeah, sure, let's do that. Why not? And that it doesn't feel right.
No, it doesn't. Not at all. Not at all. I mean, yeah. It's. Look. Look. The good news is that that. How many issues are there of this?
Too many.
Oh wait, there's. Oh no. There's only one more. Heroes Return.
Yeah.
So in one issue, they're gonna undo everything that they've done in all these other issues,
Yeah.
and you know what? You'd think that we would be happy about that, but we won't be, because we won't be able to get the stink off of our fingers for having touched these books.
It's not just that. It's not but we'd be happy if this were the end and we thought they'd learned something like, okay, let's not do that again. Nope. They're going to take this as an indication they should do it again and again and again and again.
Yeah.
That's why you really feel bad about it at the end of it.
And I think what really frustrates me about this is that there are some good writers and artists there are good artists and writers on this.
Yeah, true.
But they're churning out some great ideas, but it's being put in service of an idea it's not just dead on arrival, it's dead before it even started to go, before it departed.
Yeah.
And it just like if you're gonna do Heroes Reborn, they needed to do it in a way in which the overall Heroes Reborn thing was interesting. I just keep thinking, what if they did a Heroes Reborn where where this world where Squadron Supreme is in charge was marginally better than the Marvel universe?
You mean like Gruenwald?
Yeah. right? Like actually have it be like actually have it be the world where if Spider-Man is part of the event about the Avengers that's changing things back, is looking at a world where Uncle Ben lives, right?
Oh,
You know,
oh,
you
you
know,
got me there.
yeah. Let him for some reason have to destroy that world, right? You know,
Oh,
this would be so much more an interesting story if Mephisto wasn't a part of it. Make it a total accident that created this, and have it be something where yeah, Hyperion's not the nicest guy in the world, but like he's not like a patriotic jerk, right?
yeah,
You know, have him, actually maybe do this world where like some of the characters, are even faced with some really really heart wrenching choices,
yeah.
right? Like imagine a world where Black Panther is looking, where Black Panther is able to be happy and to have taken Wakanda in a direction that it never could have gone,
Mm-hmm.
but that would satisfy all of his desires, except Storm is dead,
Ooh, oh snap. That took a
right?
turn. Oh wow. I felt like the dude from pitch meetings, like, yeah, yeah. Oh, okay.
Right, but you see what I mean? Like make it so that make it be something where, yeah, the Avengers do need to turn it back for some other reason out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
But make it when Hyperion says, "I want to live," that you want Hyperion to live too.
Mm.
That's good storytelling. But this, it's like Hyperion's evil. Mephisto, well, we know he's evil, right?
It's kind of on the label there, yeah.
Yeah, and so but imagine this being a space where a lot of the problems had been solved and it's created new problems,
Mm-hmm.
but a world where like you just where you can't, where it's just don't make it easy.
Yeah.
Let's see Captain America. Let's see Captain America cry when he lands the last blow to get everything back, right? Let
Mm-hmm.
Thor question whether or not he was being selfish in bringing things back.
You, you're getting way too deep for American superhero comics here, Stanford. I know you got a doctorate and all, but I think you may be putting more than. And it's funny that I think that because one of my favorite Hyperion is actually a character that I've had a lot of love for over the years in different incarnations and lots of things. Because there was a version of him, and I've said this on our show before. There was a version of him that had a quote that I actually have at the top of my workspace notes on my phone. So I always see it like every day. I see it. It says, "Truth without compromise, thought without error, and all things for the betterment of the whole." That's supposed to be what Hyperion is about. That's supposed to be his mission statement, right?
Right.
And that's not this guy at all, first of all. And that's not most of the Hyperion I've seen for years, even in his own individual series that he had very briefly for a while. So when I see this thing drift so far away from what I think was the best Hyperion idea, it's like, or like we said earlier, like when we see this go so far from the best Nighthawk incarnation we saw, which was the David Walker, it's like, okay, you've already had this played sung by Ella Fitzgerald. Why would you have Britney Spears do this?
Right.
What are you doing? What are you trying to accomplish here? What's this cover for?
Right. I mean, yeah. I mean, I guess I'm just not the person to write this because I would have even doubled down and had it be like one or two of the Avengers look at this new world and switch sides,
Oh yeah, yeah, totally, totally,
and
totally
are
go for the
like,
drama. Yeah,
yeah, they switch sides, and you legit understand why they switch sides, and maybe have a member of the Squadron Supreme switch sides as well, right? You
yes,
know, and then when you get the world back, right? Maybe when it's all done, Spider-Man and Captain America can't ever talk to each other again,
that's deep. That's deep.
right?
But that
You
sounds
know,
more like an application of craft than marketing, and that's what this feels like is an application of marketing more than anything else.
but here's the thing: you could market that even better, right?
No, no,
Imagine marketing
you could
something.
market that better.
Yeah,
Not let's not
that's
say
true.
anybody could. You could do it.
I'm sorry. I apologize. I went all fanboy on you, but but damn, that's what it's just so obviously, at least to me, it's so obvious that they didn't really care.
True. Yeah. And I mean, here's the thing. Nelson Blake II, who's an artist I've worked with on some books, he said that a lot of times creators come and if you ask them, the book that you just turned in, is it the best work you've ever done? And they'll say, no, it's not. They were like, we were trying to hit the deadline, we were trying to get the check done. Like Julia Schwartz said back decades ago, it's like if you have to choose between making it good and making it on time, make it on time. There'll be another book next month. The
Yeah.
difference being, and the difference that Nelson pointed out and that I ultimately took, was that that was something that Julia Schwartz said to white writers. That was not a choice that was available for black writers because Julia Schwartz never hired one, not any. You know, so there were no black writers who were getting the chance to have another book the next month.
Right.
We have a whole different motif going there. So, yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Jason Aaron, he's done some great books. He will have a chance to do a lot more books. I'm not worried about his career after this series. What I am thinking though is, if you ask Jason Aaron, hold this up to your work as a canon, and is this the best? He's not going to be able to say yes. He might try to say it for around the time of its release for marketing purposes, but it's not true. We all know that. Come on now.
Yep.
Anywho, so that's Heroes Reborn, and this is Comic Books This Week. I'm Hannibal Tabu, head comics reviewer at bleedingcool.com, and this is Dr. Stanford Carpenter, the illustrious and praiseworthy comic book anthropologist, talking to you about the output of this week. We've spent, in my opinion, far too long on Heroes Reborn. So where shall we go next, Stanford?
I guess let's keep it in the Marvel family and let's hit the X books. We've got Planet Size X-Men and we've got New Mutants.
All right, you and I
And
disagree on
I
Planet
think yeah,
Size,
we're
so
going to
go.
disagree on
Okay,
this one.
Let's go. Let's go through it. Come on.
No. I mean, okay. So, look, let's start with Planet Size X-Men because in the order of reading, we're supposed to be reading Planet Size X-Men before New Mutants, right?
That checks out.
Now, one thing I'm disappointed about is it was kind of small for a planet-sized book.
Maybe it was a planetoid. Maybe it's like Pluto. Maybe it's not a planet anymore.
Yeah, but it should be dense. It should be giving off its own gravity, right?
I agree.
So I thought that what they did was
It's dense.
yep. I thought what was interesting is they centered like kind of a very I felt like a like one of those I felt like it was kind of a cheap writing trick. And so like because if you told me what the story was about, I'd be like, nah, fam, right? But they executed it well. Like I thought that they did a really good job on the execution, right? I mean, basically for Planet-Sized X-Men, they terraform Mars,
Yes.
and they do, and they do it not they literally do it as sort of their version of fireworks at the end of the Hellfire Gala.
Yes.
And I was like, at first I was like, I can't believe they're terraforming Mars. First of all, it's like I just don't. I'm not a big fan of departing that much far from our reality in a comic book that's supposed to be a world that's similar to ours because keeping the world somewhat similar is what gets us to suspend our disbelief, right?
I'm sorry, Angel's Wings just entered the chat, but please go on. Yes, go ahead.
Right. But but the thing is, they did it, and I thought it worked. It actually solved a series of problems that they had, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is the whole the ramifications of having all these like other dimensional mutants show up after last year's crossover.
Murder Mutants.
Yeah, and puts them on Mars where they can like fight and murder and do whatever they want. But it also raises some interesting questions. I love the little thing at the end where they have like the notes and the guy's like, well, wait, since we recognize Krakoa, but does that mean we have to recognize their claim to Mars? I actually like that kind of. I like that kind of like following through on the implications of what you're doing, right? Which I think has been the real weakness of one of the real weaknesses of this, post this Krakoa world, right? Like the ramifications of of the X-Men, pulling away from that, I don't think are really being explored well. I've talked about this off and on, especially in terms of what happens when everyone can be brought back to life, right? Or almost everyone can be brought back to life. When it's like when you have a world where you have to come up with an elaborate way for someone to actually die, like what it does to the stakes, right? But I thought the art in Planet Sized X-Men was gorgeous. And you know, I yeah, I haven't been a huge fan of the whole Hellfire Gala, and I'll say it has more to do with the fact that they spread it out over a gajillion books. I would have liked to see the Hellfire Gala encompass maybe 3 or 4 books and have planet sized X-Men really be planet sized, right? Like we're talking at least 200 pages, right? Like make it be like yeah, you know, make it be so big and so expensive that it's the only book you buy.
Wow. I
Like
didn't see that
actually
coming.
actually have some, be daring. I would have rather have seen that. And I actually think you can do a good story about a big party if you're going to execute like you did in Planet Sized X-Men, as opposed to what we've seen in a lot of the other side books. But you can try you can it's your turn. It's your turn to throw water on my parade.
And now the representative from California has the floor. All right, so first of all, let's start with the fact that this is not necessarily a story, it's a wiki entry. It's how the X-Men terraformed Mars. A story has a beginning, a middle, and end. It has conflict. There was no conflict here. There was no challenge to them. The X-Men apparently collectively have always had this power. Magneto could have been helping terraform worlds forever ago, but no, he was blowing up Russian submarines. So sure, whatever. Let's set that aside for a moment, even though the fact that there is no actual story here. Then once I get past that, I have to deal with the fact that, okay, we've done all this to put these Araco mutants in space, fine, and made War World, which is what Mongol has in the DC universe. For what, though? I mean, oh, and also, fun fact, we're calling it the capital of the Sol system. So we're just going to say, oh, we're naming this the capital, and nobody else gets a say. The ramifications that you talked about exploring were sentences. A sentence is not an exploration; it's a brush past. It's a footnote, and as such, I was like, come on, just this is all I'm gonna get out of this. I appreciate the power. I appreciate the spectacle. But even in the spectacle, my brain was looking at the timeline. So if this is supposed to happen at the crux of a Hellfire Ball, Magneto switched out of his top hat uniform that he was using at the party and switched into his regular stuff and flew up there and did this in a couple hours. Wait, nope, that doesn't match up because a couple hours ago he was having a meeting with some schmucks of the human world, as shown in some other Hellfire Gala book, that said this happened. So when did this actually happen? Did you guys terraform it and hide it? Did you not even pay attention to these sorts of details because your editorial group is so overworked and so understaffed that you simply did not notice? These are the things that I'm looking at because I've got the time and I've got the focus to do so. So when I look at all those things together, it's difficult to be entertained by this work. Whereas if you give me the next issue of, say, I don't know, X Corp or New Mutants or whatever, and say, oh, and by the way, at the end of the Hellfire Gala, they terraformed Mars and put all of Araco up there. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I'll be like, wait, what? Then that leads me into other things you can explore in other stories rather than making me spend. How much was this book, Stanford? How much was this book?
Well, it was not quite planet size cost,
That didn't
but
answer the question. How much
it
was
was
the book?
$4.99.
$5. $5 for a wiki entry. That's not the way it's supposed to work.
You
Chuck,
say $5 for a wiki entry. I say $5 for a planet.
well, if this is a planet that you consider habitable, if this is a planet that you think that you're going to be able to get something out of, pal, more power to you. I don't see the atmospheres holding it together that long. That's just me.
I
And as such, yeah, I had some challenges enjoying this work. What I do appreciate about the current X line is the ambition of it. The concepts, the concepts are big, swing for the fences ideas that are like, yo, let's try something new. The execution, however, is done by journeymen. It's like it's the same problem that we had, what's the name, when Grant Morrison, quote unquote, revolutionized the X-Men, and then the new people who came by were just not the same types of talents. They were just not as strong or not able to pull it off in the same way. So when you see this, yeah, the ideas are great, but does it carry through? Does it really, does it really hit you where it needs to hit you? Or what do they say on that show, Legendary? Does it give what needed to be gave? I don't think it does. So
All right. Well, what on to New Mutants.
on to New Mutants, which had my favorite X content of the week, which was a literal single page. Just gonna say
The
it.
New Mutants Forever group chat, huh?
Their group chat is the best thing that I saw this week out of that.
Well, either that was a really, really great group chat, or you don't think too much of this week's books.
Why not both?
Okay.
I mean, why not both? It is what it is.
I mean, I'll be honest. I felt like this New Mutants, they were trying very hard to intersect with the Hellfire Gala, but I felt like in their desire to be part of the Hellfire Gala, they abandoned all the things that have made the last couple issues really interesting.
True, true.
I feel like New Mutants has done such a better job of trying to address some of the ramifications of a world where nobody dies, than the book that is supposed to be centered on addressing the ramifications of a world where nobody dies. But I also think that it also captures kind of the angst that could come out of being on a planet where, like, essentially, if nobody dies, even though you grow old, you never advance in position.
Yeah, you are what you are. Yeah.
Right, and I think that's also really interesting. Like we don't really talk enough about how much our society depends on people going up and leaving. Right? You got to create more room, right? And I thought that it actually makes me think of the Torchwood series, where they had, remember that one Torchwood
Yes.
series where people just stopped dying, and how quickly it messed up everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's another thing to think about. Like I just, and this is where I agree with you. Like, there are a lot of ideas here, but without a real solid attention to all the ramifications
Come
and
on now.
spinning off of that. I mean, yeah, if mutants don't die, and you've established that it's the job of mutants to give birth,
Interesting.
now you're talking about rapid population growth, but you're also talking about. I mean, you've literally just articulated a world in which abortion would be frowned on,
Go deeper.
and literally there's an expectation that whenever people have sex, that they should be trying to procreate.
Catholic men, yes. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, Batman would be unhappy there, but I,
Trust me, he would leave that dish uneaten.
yes, but
We had to do it. We had to fit that joke in here somewhere.
yeah, you did. But like, those are that's just one of the ramifications they haven't gotten close to. Like, they have these 3 laws, or this idea that mutants aren't supposed to kill humans.
Yes. And then there's 2
know.
other laws that I don't remember.
Right. Well,
Something about
it's
biscuits, I think.
no, it's kill no humans, and be fruitful and multiply. That's actually one of their laws. It's actually built into their laws, right?
Oh, they got a law to get it on. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so like the whole thing with Wolverine, Cyclops, and Jean Grey all being in a polyamorous relationship, makes
Heyo.
sense. But but the thing is, according to this new mutant regime, what doesn't make sense is that Jean Grey's not having children,
That's true.
right?
That's
And
true.
and I could see a whole bunch of pushback. And what does I mean, and we haven't talked about like the fact that a lot of times the activation of mutant powers are extremely traumatizing. I just think that's the problem, right? I think that the one problem with this book is not, it is the flip side of you saying that you like that they swing for the fences. Well, the thing is, when you swing for the fences, you get a whole home run's worth of ramifications,
Yep. Yep.
as opposed to if you hit your singles and doubles, you have one or two ramifications to deal with.
Take it easy. Yeah, I can dig that. Yeah, because when you said that, it made me think about women's rights. So if the law is that you have to procreate, then what if you don't want kids? What if that's not something that's really in your life plan? What if in your immortal time that you've not thought about the idea of sacrificing your time to raise and care for kids, which is a lot. I mean, both of us are parents. We know that we made a choice to set aside certain aspects of our life to do the much more important work of raising children. That was a choice, and it's not a choice that everybody should or can make.
And if you have a society with that type of drive for procreation, then any relationship that doesn't have the possibility of resulting in children is going to be frowned upon by a large group of people.
So you're thinking LGBTQIA issues.
Well, in a mutant world, it gets really interesting because I'm sure that there are quite a few men who can have children. So now you're talking about a situation where it would be a regime that would be about figuring out, that would be very much about, and that's the other thing. It's like medicine amongst mutants is interesting because we operate in a medical system where all of our bodies are very, very similar, right?
Yep.
So we have these large categories, like this is what we do for men and their issues, and this is what we do for women, and this is what we do for, right? In mutant world, that goes out the window,
Yeah. Real
right?
talk.
So you have so there's going to be a really interesting thing in terms of like how do they match people? There's going to be a push to match people according to procreation. See, in that world, Mr. Sinister is king.
So you're thinking more of the Kryptonian model of genetic matches for arranged marriages and whatnot.
Yeah. I mean, the moment you can start doing that, and then also amongst mutants, of course there would be and I'm not saying everybody would do this. I'm talking margins here. You'd have a critical mass of people who would be all about genetic arrangements for optimizing the ability to procreate. Then you would, but within this world, you would also have a lot of people who are like, hey, the best way to get the coolest powers is to have so and so and so and so get together.
Yes.
Or you might have people pursuing people on the basis of the powers they might have, not on the basis of anything else, right? I mean, so like I said, in a world like this, it would not be the haven that they've made it out to be. Instead, it's like, oh, all the mutants are together. We all live in hippie land, and everything's fine.
But none of these ideas are actually dug into in the actual books.
Right.
Yeah. So there's like, I'm going to set this table for you, and it looks like food, but it's actually all made out of wax. So you can't actually eat.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, well, there's that.
And so that's my issue with this whole Island X-Men, right? It's I mean, I think that would be, I'd be honest, I think that, could you imagine a series of storylines like that, where instead of where like they start to realize how quickly it becomes about literally creating this island creates a mutant civil war.
Yeah.
Over issues that they never even thought of.
And Dr. Nemesis
That's
mentioned that, yeah.
Yeah. He mentioned it, but they don't follow through on any of it.
Nope. And it's interesting. I mean, because those ideas are bigger ideas, and in the same way that I talked about Crime Syndicate of America, it's not that the idea of an entire world that leans towards evil is a bad story idea. It's that if you don't have the conceptual framework to create a difference from what you actually already see, then you cannot envision something that can follow through on that. The diameter of your knowledge is the circumference of your activity, as Razkaz said. So you can't go beyond your own understandings of things to understand something that's drastically that different without a scary amount of research or a scary amount of personal reflection.
Right. I'm with you on that.
So yeah, and I mean, this is going to be my equal hiring horse that I get on again. When you keep hiring people from a homogenous cultural framework, you're going to keep getting stories from a homogenous cultural framework. You can't diversify the ideas. Business schools are even talking about that. They're like places with more diverse mindsets, people who come from different countries, different backgrounds, different socioeconomic strata, different races, different whatever. They create more tension in those workplaces, but they also create newer ideas because the ideas that are there are forced to compete against other ideas. They're forced to prove themselves instead of everybody just saying, "Oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, let's do that. Sure."
Yep.
So, yeah. But let's wait for the time that Krakoa will sink into the sea at some other point. We've done a lot of Marvel. You want to give the distinguished competition some run?
Sure, sure. You know what? Let's start with Static, Season 1, Issue 1.
I'm very reluctant to talk about this, but okay, let's go ahead.
Oh, no, I think you need to talk first this time.
All right, here's the thing. First, cards on the table. I would murder almost anybody that I know to write Blood Syndicate. I would just like if it was on the table, I'd be like, oh sure, yeah. And most of them know this and are fine with it. So the idea of being critical of the new milestone, especially when I didn't say anything during the legal challenges that held it up for so many years, is interesting to me. That said, I think that this book has some amazing, absolutely perfect character moments. It captures Virgil. It captures a good vibe on Richie. I love what it did with Hot Streak. The family dynamic. There's especially a great part that the art helps with on the family dynamic where it's bright before the Big Bang and it's nighttime after. And that was a brilliant, brilliant choice. I really love the thematic choices that went into play there, and the kind of new nature of Virgil's powers, how it crackles under his skin and it's waiting to get out, and he wants to use his powers, but he's not supposed to. I like all that tension. I like and the changes that were done to modernize the origin. All that's fine. What I miss here is a plot because this started and said, "Oh, I'm struggling with these powers. I won't ask Frida out, and I don't like this guy Hot Streak." And it ends with, "I won't ask Frida out. I'm struggling with these powers, and now I don't like this guy Hot Streak for a new reason." That's not a story progression. That's just treading water. And I want so much more because I know these characters can be so much more. They can be so much bigger. And they were. And, so that was difficult for me to go into that. But, Vita Ayala is an enormously talented writer who's done a lot of great work, and I'm looking forward to a lot of great work in the future. But I just feel like this one focused too tight on making sure that the voice was right and not enough on making sure that, like, say, the sequel trilogy, that there's a plan that we're driving somewhere, that we've entered the destination in the ways, and that we know where we're going, so let's all work towards getting there. I don't see that.
Well, okay, so, first of all, this is one of the books I've been most looking forward to, right? And not just in the last couple months, but for the last, I don't know, 10, 15 years, right?
Yeah.
The thing that I'm still struggling with, and I'll also, well, let me rewind a little. First of all, I thought I thought that Vita knocked it out of the park as far as character moments.
Agreed.
And I'm like you. I'm like, this is some amazing writing here. But one of the things I'm struggling with the Milestone Returns is that I feel like in the way they set the table, they did two things at the same time. It's like some of the comics, they've kind of established they're going to start some of the comics as if it's starting over from the very beginning
Okay.
with the similar premise, and others are coming in midstream. So, like if you look at the way they wrote and set up Icon, right? They're basically picking things up at Icon number 30 or 40,
Yeah.
right? Whereas this is picking it up at like Static Shock issue number 2,
Well, it was
right?
just static back then, but sure.
Or Static, issue number 2, right? And so, and the problem with that for me is that I kind of get the argument, which is that you want to do what you think is best with each individual character. But there's something about that for somebody who's read the original run of the Milestone comics, it's a lot of discord, right?
Yeah.
And while it seems like a good idea from the start, you're basically acknowledging that you're not going to, is that once the characters start interacting with each other, everything completely goes out the window, because the reality is that Static and Icon first met each other in issue number 20, not one in not issue 4 and 38, right? And so inevitably, once you have that crossover, then everything's gonna get even more confusing. I think they easily could have just done something where they said this happened. They could have started this up a month after or 2 months after the last Milestone comic was published, and it would have been just fine. Or they could have gone for, or they could have gone for a reboot. But I feel like what it does is it creates this thing where it's like I'm not sure it actually adds confusion for me. That being said, Static is still well written. That's just my worry overall for how this relaunch is gonna play out.
Interesting.
My issue, my one of my issues with this book though was the art.
Go on.
I love Chris Cross's art. I love his
He's a
pencils. I love
genius.
his line work. Yeah, but what I was not sold on was the finishes.
Okay.
The finishes. I mean, it's just it's too many. And it's obvious that a lot of this was done using computer effects, right? And it felt like it. I felt like I could feel the computer overlords watching over me as I was reading this, and
Sorry,
and
Skynet.
like, and there are a lot of like patterns that are just inserted, which all of them kind of work individually, but when you put it all together, it's clutter.
Okay.
And like the pages where they're trying to show that it's light, like having a heavy light source and fading other things out, it just made me feel like I was reading through a fog, right? I was like, oh wait, did I forget to put my glasses on? And then I put my glasses on, I'm like, oh nope.
Still the same.
you know, my eyes are not as bad as I thought they were. And so I think that's one thing that's hard, because there's also really not a lot of empty space in the panels.
True.
So it's like you compile that lack of empty space, and it's not that it wasn't there in the art. It's that there are so many pattern overlays here that if I focus in on an individual panel, it looks great. But when I look at the page, I'm having trouble
Ooh, did you drop out? What happened there, Stanford?
figuring out.
Oh, you dropped out a little bit.
No, I'm still here.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I said there are a couple of pages where even though the individual panels looked great, I had trouble figuring out what was going on in the page.
All right. I don't disagree with you about the art. I don't have any disagreement there. I would a little more cleanliness in terms of finishes would have been great, because crisscross's pencils, you could practically just color over them and call it a day, honestly.
Exactly.
But I will take a little note as to what you're saying about the reboot, because if this is going to devote itself to reconciling with what previous Milestone fans read, that is a small demographic. That the largest number of people who became acquainted with Icon, with Static, with Rocket, are people who watch Young Justice.
Right.
And those people don't know nothing about from what the original Milestone universe was. And that's fine. So while I do miss the idea of seeing Raquel dealing with her teen mother issues and growing into an adult fast, as well as Augustus learning how his conservative viewpoints may have been short-sighted and not appreciate the real realities of what's going on with the people here. Jumping up to a functional black Superman immediately has an enormous business value and an enormous cultural value, which I totally respect them going for. Rebooting Static from start is fine. I mean, he's a teen hero. You got to reboot him from start. You don't start Static when he's Dwayne Wayne at the equivalent of Hillman. You just you pick up from where you got to go.
But here's the thing.
Okay,
where
go
did
ahead.
Milestone end? Static where did Static end?
Well, again, and here's the thing about that. 99% of the possible customers that you have don't know and don't care. They are not
True.
involved with that content at all. They have no knowledge of it. They're not going to wiki it. They're not going to look it up. They don't care. They're like, ooh, I remember these characters from Young Justice. What's going on here? And they're going to start from where they are. In the same way that Star Wars people start from where they are. And Doctor Who people.
Here's my point in asking that question. Is much of the Milestone universe kind of ended in a place that was similar to where it started.
Okay.
So, I can't remember whether, so you're picking up Static either later in high school or in college. Those are, and you can do some similar things with college that you do with high school. Boom. Yes, there were some things about Icon and Rocket, but Icon and Rocket really became interesting when she became a single mom. And when Icon and Rocket ended, she was a single mom she was still a single mom with a toddler.
Mm-hmm. Which she is in Young Justice. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So what I'm saying is that like you could have had Milestone Zero be something that summarized what happened in the Milestone universe, and then just picked up, right? And yeah, there's you're right. There's a lot of people who are coming to it who are completely new to it, but there's also a pretty large people who have been there. And I'm just saying, all I'm saying is that it's kind of just more confusion than and I think it's just unnecessary confusion given where things ended for most of the characters that they're bringing out. I think that the only book that you're gonna have kind of a problem with is going to be Shadow Cabinet. Cobalt. Oh wait, they're not bringing back Cobalt, so
There are some things that went well, yes. But let's towards that point. I mean, having actually spoken to the maestro, to Dwayne himself, you say that there's a large number of people there aren't. The sales don't bear it, especially at the end of Milestone. They were selling in the neighborhood of like super low Oni Press, like Strangers in Paradise numbers. That's not a group of people that is, while you remember it with some clarity, the actual number of people could not even fill one of the ABC rooms at Comic-Con. The actual number of people that actually know and are still alive and remember is in the hundreds. So,
all right,
that's not an audience to serve when you're especially coming out of a protracted legal battle. When you promised this book 3 or 4 years ago.
No, it was like 5 years ago.
Okay, 5 years ago, you promised this book.
In fact, it was because I think they first started promising the book was going to come out in. I think it was it was more than that. It was in 2016.
God, time sure flies when the world is dying.
It had to be 2016. It was either 2016 or 2015. I'm not sure which. I have to double check.
Well,
But I know it because there's some other things going on in my life at that time that are very significant, and I know that it was it was a while ago.
in any case, with that many things going on and that much time under the way, you need to discard a lot of baggage to be able to move forward. Especially when you got Jim Lee looking like, yo, dog, I thought you wanted me to draw something for this. What are y'all doing? What's going on? Where's the freaking books, man? Come on, man. Come on, man.
That's true, but I mean, I think my greater point is that I think one of the mistakes that comics makes is that they are so quick to reboot, and they're so quick to get rid of things even things that they don't need to. And they do it in ways that make things more confusing, not less confusing. Like having a milestone with a clear continuity going forward that doesn't mess with what happened before. I don't think that's a bad idea from an editorial perspective.
And from a business perspective, I think it serves 400 people and is a terrible idea. But
I don't think it's a bad idea. Why is it a bad idea from a business perspective?
because again, you're specifically narrowcasting to serve 400 people, maybe less, 400 actual physical people that you're trying to sell these books to. Whereas you're going to walk in with continuity that people did not know, do not care about, and do not have any engagement. There's a reason why YA is the way it is. And a lot of editors and agents say this. They're like, you don't want a YA protagonist older than 18 because then they can make their own decisions. Then they can have their own adult things. You need the limitations of parents, the limitations of homes, the limitations of those things to make YA work. That's why Spider-Man was a teenager for 1,000 years. That's why
Right.
Tom Holland got the gig instead of Andrew Garfield, who was actually really good at it, but he was in his 30s. So you need to go young on some of these things, very specifically. Rocket less so, especially if you're going to make her a mom, but Static absolutely so. You got to get in there with some lockers. You got to get in there with some gym class, and you got to change for that. You got all that crap in there. And a college age Static is not going to give you that. He's not. The college age Static who's already lost his virginity to that really, really sweet girl with the glasses is not going to give you that.
All right. Well, yeah. I mean, I see where you're coming from. I don't necessarily agree with it in this instance. I could see it with some other characters that had a lot more time, a lot more continuity behind them. But like I said, a lot of these characters pretty much ended in spaces that were very parallel to where they started. So going back just didn't make sense. And I see the argument for just going in and just telling the story that you want, but that's that's something that you can do with comic characters. But
especially Reggie. Reggie is the king of no, I'm going to start where I want to do. Oh, I'm going to make Black Panther have a sister. I'm going to just throw that in there. Why not? And we're better for it.
Well, yeah, we are better. We are better for it, but I mean, there was nothing that said that he didn't have a sister, right?
There were actually a number of things that actually did say that in the McGregor run, but let's move on.
Okay, all right, all right. Let's move on. What do you want to hit next?
Well, we got about 7 minutes before I have to get to a work meeting, so we got a lightning round it. We did Static. What else is? I should just open up the actual doggone document.
We have Represent. We have Time Beyond Time. Seven Secrets.
Let's do time. Let's do those. Time Beyond Time and Seven Secrets. Those are better books. Let's do those. Yes.
Okay. Time Beyond Time. Loved it.
Weird.
Loved it.
So weird.
The only reason I read it was because somebody made me, and I hesitate to acknowledge that I liked it because I don't want anyone rubbing it in my face.
Greatness is what it is. It doesn't need extra accolades. It doesn't need to bask in its own glory. It is greatness.
It's a really great, interesting time travel story, and more often than not, I'm not a fan of time travel stories. Mm-hmm. So when I see one that I like, I mean, and I think the issue for time travel stories for me is that they always end up breaking their own rules and not making sense. And So you either have to have a really solid, like, this is how we're doing time travel, these are the rules for time travel, or you need to just completely ignore all rules whatsoever and just go with it.
Doctor Who.
And yeah. And one thing I liked about this one was they were just like, no, they're like, what if I do this? Isn't it gonna like destroy the future? He's like, no, it already happened, right? So this idea that they just embrace the notion that like time travel is part of time,
Temporal determinism.
right? That I think it works for this because it allows them to jump into a whole different kind of story. That this idea that like, oh, if you have time travel, it would turn into black markets where people would be buying products from 100 years from now at hugely accelerated prices. I loved that. I love that there's different gangs who are like marking time periods like street corners, right?
Yep.
And it's a really simple idea. I mean, I think this is one of those things where you take something really simple and play out the ramifications. They're doing it really well.
Really well, nailing it. I'm very happy with this
Yeah.
book, and it was a surprise to me because I didn't have a lot of expectation. I think the title, the cleverness of the title, "Time Before Time," playing off Cyndi Lauper, is one of the things that hooked me on it. And while issue 2 was less deep in character than issue 1 was, it made up for it in detail. Like you said, those details about like, oh no, this gang, they've got these decades locked down. But after those decades, they gave it up. I mean, that's fascinating. That's literally
And I love
super
that.
fascinating.
I also love that you have one gang that is all about spoilers, and the other gang hates spoilers. Right? Like they don't want to know And I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. You're going to have different cultural formations around this. It worked really well, and you know what? I also got to say, I loved the art.
Yeah, the
You
art,
know,
the
it
facial acting, all that really worked.
it gave me some shades of Mike Magnolia, but and in a good way.
Yes.
I love that art where they have lots. I love that there's lots of white space and lots of black space, lots of just solid space. Right? They didn't feel like they had to put a pattern every place, and so when they did, it really stuck out.
Yeah.
So there's an intent, and that type of visual intentionality, I think, does a comic good.
You said everything I was going to say about that. This is Comic Books This Week. We got about 3 minutes, so I agree with everything you said about Time Before Time. I love it. It's from Image Comics. It's outstanding. What was? Oh, you finally got into Seven Secrets.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did.
Seven Secrets, my reaction was a little bit different. One was, I mean, I read the last 2 issues, and it's a little confusing.
You'd have to go. Yeah, you might need to go catch up.
Right. It's a little confusing, but I can see, I see something in there that I think is interesting. I read Time Beyond Time before I read Seven Secrets, and that kind of hurt my reading of Seven Secrets.
That's
Because
fair.
Time Beyond Time was just that good. And it's like,
And you got in on the ground floor.
right. Where Seven Secrets is like, okay, this is a cool idea. I do love the idea of there being these secrets and everybody's fighting for them, right? And I like the idea that it's built around this notion of a secret. That is just, it's incredibly simple and powerful and complex at the same time.
Yeah, I've said, oh my God, that's exactly what I said about that. All of those things are exactly true. And what's best is, I think it's actually better that you don't find out most of the secrets. Like, one secret was revealed, I think 2 issues back, before the issue that you started on, and
What was the secret?
Okay. So they're fighting, and they captured the first keeper, and they open up this briefcase, and Switzerland is gone.
Oh, okay. So that was the secret.
The first secret is a country killer.
Oh, okay.
That's just the first one of the 7. And they were like, there's a reason why these secrets can never be known. I was like, oh no. So
I mean, okay, so that makes sense. So that makes some of the comic make sense because everyone's fretting over the destruction of Switzerland. I'm like, damn, that's an interesting choice. Kill the neutral country.
Because one of their major bases was in Switzerland where they trained and whatnot. And
Okay.
yeah, and the people, the Seekers, who were led by this guy Amon, who, strangely enough, is the son of one of the people who was killed, one of the major people. It's all very intricate and very deep that way. And it just, I mean, it's so layered, dude. I love it so much. That's 3:59, so I got to go with this work meeting. But yeah, Seven Secrets, I really enjoy it. If you get a chance to dig up some of the back issues, or whatever, we'll see. I think you'll really enjoy it. I think it's super engaging and it's super effective that you don't know the secrets. That almost makes the characters stand out more in my mind.
Yep. I like I said, it was. I liked it. I liked what I read. I'm still I feel like I'm still catching up.
You
Because
did
I'm
start
still
on
trying to.
8, so
Yeah, that is true. You know. So, but I recommend. That's one of those books that I would recommend somebody going in and being and taking a stab at figuring out what's going on and then getting the back issues.
all right, this has been Comic Books This Week. Please click on the It's Complicated Clubhouse above and join us every Thursday from 3 to 5 Pacific Standard Time, 5 to 7 Central Time, or wherever you are, you can figure it out with your own smart device or whatever. This is Dr. Stanford Carpenter, comics anthropologist, and myself, Hannibal Tabu, head comics reviewer at Bleeding Cool. We appreciate you joining us. Please come on back next time. I hope you've enjoyed the sounds of Paragon, Arckatron, and SP the Soul Prophet that I've been playing as our backgrounds. And we will see you next week. Thank you.
Have a good one.